because this is how your different and various electrolytes and substances move in and out of your nephron. So we have number one, this is your primary active transport. So this utilizes ATP right away. So an example of this one is your sodium-potassium pump, which we will also see in your nephron. Next, you have your secondary active types of transport. So instead of immediately utilizing the ATP, what it does is that it stores it first before it can use the ATP. So you have two types. You have your symport and antiport. So simply put, when you say symport, the same. So this allows one or more substances to move towards the same direction. So makasulod man siya sa nephron or makagwa siya, but the direction is the same. The second one is your antiport. So antiporters or antiport type of transport means that the substances move opposite to each other. So some substances can move in and at the same time, may magwa naman. Next, you have for the transport of water. So majority of water in your nephron will be transported by way of osmosis. So under this, your water has two types of reabsorption. You have your obligatory absorption and your facultative reabsorption. And take note, for water, 90% is obligatory reabsorption. So ano ka maghambal? Obligatory reabsorption. Water is obliged to follow your electrolytes and your substances. So for example, in your nephron, may magwa na sodium or potassium, si water, or may maupod na yung water always. Because of obligatory reabsorption. Obliged din si water magsunod kung diin kakadto ang mga solutes. So this is common in your proximal convoluted tubule and in your loop of Henle. The other type of reabsorption you have is your facultative reabsorption, meaning this is facilitated by something. Later on, you'll know that it's facilitated by different types of hormones because of different types of scenarios. So for your facultative reabsorption, so 10% lang ang involved na water sa facultative reabsorption. And this is commonly found sa inyo nga collecting tubules. So this is it for the routes of transport. Okay, so this is your nephron. And as you've already discussed, diba, the number one process you have in forming your urine is your glomerular filtration. And this happens within your renal corpuscle by way of your glomerulus being filtered by your Bowman's capsule. So this is the first step in forming your urine. The next two important steps or processes are your tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. So what is the difference? When you say reabsorption, diba, re again, and absorption. So this just means na ibalik sa blood ang nagwa sa blood from your glomerular filtration. So movement in tubular reabsorption is from the nephron going back to the blood. This is your reabsorption. And then you have your tubular secretion. So this is from your blood being secreted into your nephron. So those are the next steps that need to happen in order for your kidneys to make urine. Now let's move on to different parts of your nephron. So tapos na tayo renal corpuscle. After that, your fluid will pass through your proximal convoluted tubule. So convoluted siya kaya it comes in waves or the liko-liko siya. From there, it will go to your thin descending loop of Henle or thin descending nephron loop. It's the same thing. Afterwards, masaka siya by way of your thin ascending loop of Henle or thin ascending nephron loop, to be followed by your thick ascending loop of Henle or thick ascending nephron loop. And then, nakado siya kay distal convoluted tubule since same siya kay PCT ka, nga the waves man siya or the liko-liko. And lastly, they will all go to your collecting duct. And after which, this is how your urine will form. Now, what about these other structures? So, can you see these ones, ang naka-blue and naka-green? So, halina di ang blood vessels, may iban na upod in line with your PCT and your DCT, and you call them your peritubular capillaries. So peri means sa side, tubular, sa kilid sa mga tubules. Next, you have your vasa recta or vasa recta. So this is the capillary enclosing naman your nephron loop or loop of Henle. So ano yung significance ni peritubular capillaries and vasa recta na kailangan may blood capillaries kasi tupad sa nephron. This is so reabsorption and secretion can happen easily. So for example, when you see reabsorption, halin sa nephron, mabalik sa blood. Iba sa glomerulus and sa Bowman's capsule, blood na di galabay, makadto di siya, i-filter, right? So some things get left behind and some things continue on with your blood. Okay? So, galabay na siya kay PCT. So, diba, as your filtrate passes through your proximal convoluted tubule, the process of tubular reabsorption happens. Wherein, ang halin natin sa filtrate, sulod ni nephron, mag-reabsorb siya balik sa blood. Dito siya malabay kay peritubular capillaries. So that is the significance. What about the other process? So kay PCT Japon, may araman ka, secretion na nakatabo. This means that your peritubular capillaries will secrete some substances that will end up with your proximal convoluted tubule. So kabalik-balik lang siya. Some get reabsorbed back into the blood and some from the blood go to your nephron para ipagawa as your urine. So the same thing kay vasa recta, the difference lang kay siya ang sa nephron loop ng capillaries na ara. Okay, so there man may reabsorption, may secretion all throughout your loop of Henle. And lastly, you have your distal convoluted tubule. So since the same siya kay PCT, si DCT, ang tupad yung mga capillaries are also known as your peritubular capillaries. So same thing, may reabsorption, may secretion man nag-occur. And lastly, si collecting tubule ta, this is the last structure that you will have to pass through. And diba, as we mentioned earlier, very nilaban ng facultative water reabsorption. So si collecting tubule ang may final say kung ano ka-concentrated or diluted in yung urine. So this is the formula for urinary excretion or the amount of urine that your body processes on a daily basis. So this is your glomerular filtration minus your tubular reabsorption and then plus your tubular secretion. So it happens in that specific order. So una, ang blood, i-filter, and then masubtract ang tubular reabsorption. Diba? Because tubular reabsorption is giving substances back to the blood. And then, after some substances are reabsorbed, then may tubular secretion na add siya because from the blood, mahatag naman siya substances to your nephron para ipagawa as urine. So, yung formula for urinary excretion. Let's talk about some of the important substances that get filtered from the blood. And let's see how much goes out as urine. So, hindi hindi lang filter ka blood, hangwa sa imo nga urine. Because if that were to happen, then you would lose a lot of electrolytes and nutrients from your body. So, here are the most important ones. You have your glucose, your bicarbonate, your sodium, your chloride, your urea, and your creatinine. So, these are some of the more important na mga substances sa inyong blood that get carried out to your urine or that go back to your blood. So, these are the substances and these are the percentage of filtered load reabsorbed. So, kung mag-aamoy siya ang percent kung sa amoy substance ang kabalik sa blood. So, for example, we have your glucose. So, 100%. This means that 100% of the glucose that passes through your nephrons is reabsorbed or goes back to the blood. So this would mean that kung 100% nagbalik sa blood, normally, under normal circumstances, wala glucose na trace sa inyong urine because it already went back to your blood, right? So 100% balik glucose ang reabsorbed. Next, you have your bicarbonate. So greater than 99.9% is reabsorbed back into the blood. We have your sodium, wherein 99.4% is reabsorbed. You have your chloride, wherein 99.1%. So, meaning, may aragyapon some of these things that can normally be seen in your urine. So, kapag urinalysis ka mo, may normal amount of bicarbonate, sodium, chloride na dapat aragyapon sa iyo. Next, you have your urea and your creatinine. So, for urea, 40% lang ang naka-reabsorb. So, what happens to the 60%? 60% will come out of the urine. Okay? Then you have your creatinine, 0% pa ang naka-reabsorb. Meaning, the net of creatinine will have to be excreted from your body. Kaya 0 ang naka-reabsorb. Meaning, tanan nagwa sa ihi. Okay, so this is it for the substances that I want you to remember.